Hi everyone. Well, I have another story this week and it's all to do with Moses and the 10 plagues. I wonder what these 10 plagues are. I know there's some of my little ones love to listen to the stories, and I know Lucy is one of them. And I know I have Georgia Grace, and there's Jack and Rebecca, and a lot of other ones that love to sit and listen to these. So here's the story for this week, and then you'll be able to relate it to what you've got in your little parcels. Now, when Moses and his brother Aaron got to Egypt, the Lord had told them what to do. You have to go to Pharaoh and see if he will let the Israelites go free. Now, it won't be easy, he said. It'll be quite difficult. So they did what God had asked them, and they went to see Pharaoh. And Aaron threw down his staff in front of the Pharaoh, and it turned into a snake. Oh, scary snake. But Pharaoh, he just sat and looked at it, and he just went, nothing different about there. And without a word, he snapped his fingers, and 3 men walked in. Pharaoh whispered to one of the men in his ears, and he nodded and spoke quietly to the other ones. All at the same time, they threw down their staffs on the ground, and guess what? They became snakes too. Aaron and Moses turned and looked at each other, and they were kind of disappointed because they were hoping that the first thing that they had done would make Pharaoh kind of frightened and want to let the people free. But then they realised that those 3 men were just Pharaoh's magicians. But just as Moses was feeling defeated that his snake then got up and swallowed the other ones. And this made Moses feel so much better knowing that God was with him and God was directing. But Pharaoh didn't seem to care about what had happened. And he just said, nice try, but I'm still keeping these Israelites. I'm holding them back. They're going nowhere. Moses left disappointed. But he was excited at the same time because he knew he could go to see God and God would direct him then what the next thing is that they would do. God said to them, Pharaoh's heart is hard. He's still not going to change his mind. So go and see him tomorrow morning. He didn't listen today, but I will continue to show him that I am the true God. With these instructions, that God had given Moses and Aaron, they went the next morning to see Pharaoh. Aaron explained to Pharaoh, because you still won't listen, God is going to change all the water in Egypt into blood. And look, I have a little picture of the first one, and this is the water turning into blood. The fish will die, the river will sink, and none of the Egyptians will be able to drink it. Pharaoh smiled and said, go ahead, go on, Aaron, do that. So Aaron did what the Lord had told him, and he put his staff in the water, and it turned to blood. Pharaoh seemed a little surprised, but he summoned his magicians, and they also turned the water into blood. With that, Pharaoh's heart became hard, and he turned and walked to the back of his palace. All the fish died, and the water smelled so bad, and nobody could drink it. Can you imagine turning your tap on at home and instead of having water come out of it, it was pure blood? Oh, and imagine having a bath in blood. Not nice water with bubbles going everywhere. Oh my goodness. Of course the Egyptians didn't have sinks and toilets away back then, but they still used water to drink, to make food and to clean up. After a whole week of Pharaoh still wouldn't letting his people go, but his magicians couldn't turn the blood back into water either, the Lord instructed Aaron and Moses to go and see Pharaoh again. Tell Pharaoh to let my people go. If he refuses to let them go, I will plague the whole country with frogs." They did as God had asked, and Pharaoh once again refused to let the people go. So Aaron stretched out over the waters of Egypt, and the frogs came up and covered everything. Look, so this was the second one. All the frogs jumping about the whole place. The magicians could not make the frogs disappear, but this would be the last time that the magic would work, because after that day, Pharaoh couldn't take any more, and he called for Aaron and Moses. And he probably likely couldn't sleep. I bet he was jumping about the bed anyway too, because he couldn't sail. He begged Moses, "Pray to the Lord to take the frogs away from me and my people, and I will let the people go." So Moses prayed to the Lord, and all the frogs died. But when Pharaoh saw that all the frogs were dead, he was relieved, and he hardened his heart again, and he just held on strong. There were many other plagues that followed. There were gnats and flies. Ooh, horrible. There were locusts that came. Oh my goodness. And they ate all the grass and everything else. And there was complete darkness. And there was nobody left in their homes because they couldn't see where they were going. So imagine being in the dark all the time. No sunshine. Couldn't be able to go outside and play. Oh, that would be horrible. With all of these plagues, Pharaoh said that he'd let the Israelites go if God would put back everything to normal. But then he kept changing his mind, and you'd think he would have learnt his lesson by now, but no, he hadn't. You may have felt sorry for the Israelites during all these plagues, but God made sure that they were not touched by them. Only Pharaoh and the people, the Egyptians, went through these terrible times. The Israelites lived a little way away, and God kept them very safe and put a pretend wall right round them all so that none of the plagues would ever go into them at all. So they weren't affected by the water being turned into blood, the frogs jumping all over the place, the hail falling down round everybody, the flies and everything. Oh, all the creepy crawlies of the day. Don't like things like that. The cows and everything. The boils on people. The hail. Oh my goodness. The locusts. Darkness. All these things. But the Lord had special instructions for Aaron and Moses, so the Israelites would be safe all the time. On the sea, he told the Israelites that they must kill their best sheep or their goat. This is supposed to be a goat. Oh my goodness. Then they were to take some of the blood and smear it onto the doors. So they were to put a sign on the door. On that night, I will pass through Egypt like a ghost and kill the life from every firstborn. I'll see blood on those doorways, and that will be a sign for me to pass over that house, which means he wouldn't enter in, and everybody inside there would be safe. This day will always be known as the Passover, because you have passed over and kept safe by God. You will continue to celebrate this for many years, and we all do. We do celebrate that. They were also to eat unleavened bread. That is bread that is very flat, and it's not fluffy like our bread that we get to eat. This would always remind them of the hurry that they left Egypt in. Now you have to remember, Pharaoh could not have stopped all this a long time ago. There was only one person could stop this. And who would that one person be? Yes, you're right. It was God. He was the only one that could do that. After Pharaoh realised what had happened in Egypt, he called for Moses and Aaron just after midnight. Leave my people, and you and all the Israelites go worship the Lord as you wanted. Take all your animals. Get out of here now. The Israelites, they gathered up their gold, their silver from the Egyptians, who were glad to see them leave, and they left with Moses. You wouldn't believe what happened next. When Pharaoh heard that the Israelites had left, he changed his mind again. He decided to gather up an army of more than 600 people and go after Moses, Aaron, and all the Israelites. So the Israelites were on their way when they noticed in the distance that Pharaoh was coming behind them. And they started to get really worried, and they questioned Moses. Why would he lead them out to the desert to die? Moses knew what to say, and he told them, do not be afraid. God has protected you before, and he will protect you again. When the Israelites reached the Red Sea, they were trapped in the sea in front of them and Pharaoh behind them. But God told Moses to reach out his staff into the water. And when he did this amazing thing, something happened.